I'm Debbie McGrath with Ventum Financial, and this is a Relevant Minute with Andrea Linger, our Senior Vice President and Head of Private Client Services. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you.
You're our newest member to the firm, so we have very quickly inaugurated you not only to joining the firm, but also joining us on our Ventum Minute. So thank you so much for agreeing to do that.
Very happy to be here, Debbie.
So you have lots to share because your history has been very interesting. You've been in the financial services industry for how many years now?
Probably just under 20, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And in that journey, particularly as women, we obviously have a different experience than others can. Can you share a little bit about what's been unique for you and maybe some of the mentors along the way for you?
Absolutely. This industry isn't known for having a lot of women in it in terms of financial advisors. I would say there's lots of women on the corporate side, but not as much as you move higher up into the ranks. So, on both sides of the equation, I would say that there's lots of work to be done in our industry to bring more women in. I had a very special mentor. She actually started in the industry when I think she was like 19 or 20. She's fresh out of university. And that's, she got her start. She knew she wanted to be a financial advisor right from the beginning. I did not know that. I actually fell into this industry kind of in my early 30s. I went back to school, finished my BCom. I had 2 little kids at the time. And when I was ready to graduate, I made a list of all the successful women that I knew. And Sybil was up at the top. I remember seeing her run around Shawnigan Lake and at the condo where we always went every summer. And, I knew she was successful, had no clue what she did. So I just, said, hey, I phoned her up. I'm like, Sybil, can I take you for lunch? I just want to, pick your brain and get an idea of what it is that you do. And so took her for lunch. Didn't bring my resume with me, nothing like that. Just wanted to ask her a bunch of questions, and that's what I did. And that night she called me and said, Andrea, you need to come work for me. And I said to her, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And she's like, I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. And that was how I got into the financial services industry. But she's been a strong role model and I would say mentor for me for a good chunk of my career. And then, obviously through a lot of my work that I've done with the women advisors networks and focus on women, I've had a lot of other women financial advisors that have become mentors along the way as well.
So tell our audience, Sybil has had a very successful experience both in television as well as podcasts, which you were a part of or a producer of. Can you tell our audience Sybil's full name?
Her name is Sybil Birch.
And what did she evolve her career into?
So it's interesting. She's had quite, I would say, full circle career. So she started as an advisor, has always had a book business, but then moved into more of the corporate stream, all the way up to executive vice presidents. And then she decided to go back to her roots and be a financial advisor. Now, in that time frame, when I was working with her, we started a television show called The Wealthy Life. And it was a financial literacy talk show for Canadians, really giving them an education and not just focused on finances, but how to live a wealthy life, right? It's not just about your finances. And so how many seasons? I was involved with the project from the beginning. But then as my career kind of took off, I had to step back. Now she's still doing The Wealthy Life, but she's changed it more into a podcast. And I know that they're actually launching courses now too. So
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit in that journey with Sybil. You obviously had some experience, but I want to go back to how you said I wrote a list of people that you perceived to be successful. So what lens were you looking at through that? What is your definition of success? And has it changed?
Well, I would say that it's probably changed a little bit over, the last 20 so years. I was looking at finances to begin with, who looked like they had, a good quality of life, obviously. And for women, I was also looking at who seemed to have some balance in their life too, right? Like, because I think that's sometimes something that's hard for women to attain is balance, where you can focus on family and your career at the same time. So I would say that's kind of what I was looking for, who fit that mold, and somebody who liked to give back to their community as well. That was another kind of key feature.
So you have your time with Sybil, and I think you were taking some pretty intense studies during that time too, and you took a step into the financial industry. And when you think of that time then, it must have been a little different than it is today. Do you want to talk about some of the evolution you've seen?
Well, I mean, I would say that, yes, there has been some evolution in the industry. Certainly, there is more of a focus towards women advisors now, a lot of coaching for advisors on how to deal with women investors, because they are slightly different than a male investor. I'd also say that there's a focus on getting more women advisors into the industry as well. So a lot of time I've spent has been actually with university students and young, I would say middle schoolers, teaching, business through the Junior Achievements PC.
So speaking to younger people, what would you tell them that is rewarding about this business?
You can really make this business whatever you want it to be. It's a great business for women to be in. You can set your own schedule. You can financially support yourself, and you get to help people, which I think is a fairly important factor for women advisors. They want to work with their clients, make sure that they're going to be okay. Very rarely do you hear a female financial advisor start talking about the portfolio metrics right off the bat. They're, talking about the kids and the grandkids and, what's coming up and what's exciting and what their long-term goals are. So I would say what I've seen the evolution of is actually male advisors, stepping into and embracing that tell me your story type of relationship with their clients as well. Some have done it already and are kind of ahead of their time, and others are kind of just moving into it over the last few years. But I think that it's nice to see that transition.
And as you know, we're going through a very focused intent on growth in the next couple of years. Tell me how you see that shaping up in your role.
Well, I think it's a matter of, Ventum's special, I would have to say. We're a place where you can be entrepreneurial. You can, build your business the way you want to build it. So whether that is on the transactional side or whether it's on the wealth management side, we actually have a platform to support both of those, which I would say is somewhat unique in our industry now. There is, the transactional side of the business isn't always supported as much. And so I would say that we have, kind of a unique opportunity to grow and build a special business for advisors to land and feel part of the family, have great support systems in place, have some excellent marketing, and, really leadership that cares and puts the client first. And I think that that's something that's really important. It's not just, our end client that's important, but it's also our advisors because they're our client as well.
So looking out in the future of the industry overall and obviously growth for Ventum, what do you anticipate? So the next 5 to 10 years journey that will really start to shape?
I think this industry is actually going to go through a bit of a transition, especially with AI, growing and, starting to, I would say, creep into our industry. So one thing that I'm very, very happy about is, the leadership is actually on board to embrace that technology. So it doesn't scare me as much. It's those firms that don't want to touch it that, will leave them behind. I think that we need to teach our advisors how to really articulate their value, the value that they're bringing to their clients. It's, sometimes it's about the numbers, depending on the client, if that's exactly what they're looking for. But other times it's, have you helped them achieve their goals? And so I think that a focus on actually training and the development of our advisors will be kind of a key component to our growth as well.
We had talked about Sybil as a mentor of yours, but we never have just one along the journey. Is there anyone else that was special?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't have this mentor for a really long time, but he actually taught me a lot about the corporate side of the industry. I worked with him shortly, still have a connection to him outside of work now. But what he really taught me was his A plus B equals C, but you start with the C. So you always find where you want to go and then make the plan on how you're going to get there. A lot of people start with the A, meaning, here's all the things I need to do with no real clear direction. So I would say that that's one thing that I took from him, and I'm applying it now, in this job. And in my past job as well.
I was going to say, I would think, Andrea, actually, you did do that when you said you made a list. That was really starting with C. Those people were at C.
Yes, they were at C, for sure. Yeah.
And when you think about skills, and maybe you've had it through mentorship or you've seen it within the workplace that were required 25 years ago, but maybe that are different today. You had talked a little bit about the soft side and having, that conversation with people about particularly women and how they talk about the family. Are you seeing changes in that today of what that is on a skill?
I think it's, obviously there's a math side of our business.
Very much so.
And the financial understanding and our industry, and the markets and all that kind of stuff. So, we can't downplay how important that is, because it is very important. But I'd also say that something that has changed over the years are those soft skills that, you're almost kind of like a counselor to a certain extent sometimes, or you can be. When it comes to finances, it's one of the biggest challenges that families, husbands and wives, spouses and partners have, is actually talking about finances. So, you can sometimes be in situations where you have to maybe referee a little bit, or help them really have those discussions so that they can plan things out. So I would say some of those skill sets, more focus on coaching. I think that's something that's maybe a little bit different now than it was, 25 years ago.
And do you think that may also, you would know the data better than myself, but has there been more of a shift from transaction? My dad was a stockbroker when I was growing up, and now wealth management, and it's talking about a much bigger picture rather than back in the day where it was a little bit more stock picking. Has it been sort of that transition of change?
Yeah, I would say the industry's definitely going that way, towards the wealth management sphere. You see a lot of family offices now. That's kind of like one of the buzzwords. And it's absolutely, life is a little more complicated, I would say. We've got, the economy sometimes isn't as great as maybe it should be. We've got more challenges, the housing market. You've got a generation that has most of the wealth that is now going to start transitioning, but those other generations behind have a lot of debt. So, what are they going to do with the money? And how can they actually keep it and invest it and grow it? So I would say that it absolutely has changed. There's a lot of different things that you have to talk to your clients about nowadays.
And thinking of yourself today, and looking back to where you were maybe 20, 30 years ago, what would you tell yourself along the journey?
Save sooner.
Well, all of us fall in that bucket, that's for sure.
You know what? I'm not one for looking back with regrets. I think that is something, everything that you go through in life has taught me something, whether it's challenges, ups, downs, whatever it is. Everything has happened for a reason to get me to the point where I am now. And so what would I say to my younger self? Just keep going, work hard and believe in yourself. I think that might be the thing that I would have told my younger self, is believe in yourself a little sooner than when I started.
That seems to come to all of us with age. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we don't get that early. Now, because you're on Relevant, can you tell me some piece of advice that you were given to along your journey that is still relevant today?
Hard work pays off. I think I'd have to credit my parents for that one. In an industry that can be somewhat, I would say, what's the word for it? But, a financial industry can sometimes look a little stilted, right? Or it's black and white. I try to bring some empathy into things. And so I would say the advice that I had is be myself. And so that's what I try to do.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.